A woman I know, she's 71, sharp as anyone I've ever met, told me she first noticed something was off when she couldn't make out her daughter's expression from across a restaurant. Not blurry exactly, just gone, like the detail had been quietly erased. She assumed it was her glasses, got a new prescription. It didn't help. What she had was the early stage of age-related macular degeneration, and the thing that hit her hardest wasn't the diagnosis. It was being told it had probably been developing for years. So this video is about something simple you can start doing tonight. One fruit, eaten before bed. And there's a specific reason the timing matters. Because the most important window for eye repair happens while you sleep, and what you give your body before that window opens makes a measurable difference in what it's able to do. The fruit is kiwi. And what makes it interesting isn't one thing. It's 3 specific nutrients packed into a small, inexpensive piece of fruit that happen to be exactly what the aging macula needs most. We'll get into all of it. But first, the thing most people don't know about their own eyesight, and why this matters more after 65 than at any other point in your life. Nearly 20 million Americans are currently living with some form of age-related macular degeneration. That number comes from a 2022 analysis published in JAMA Ophthalmology, and it's more than double what researchers estimated just a decade ago. 20 million people. And the overwhelming majority of them didn't know anything was wrong until their vision had already started to change. So what is AMD, and why does it hit so hard after 65? Your eye has a structure at the very back called the retina, the light-sensitive layer that converts what you see into signals your brain can read. In the center of the retina sits a small region called the macula. And the macula is responsible for everything you care about most in your visual life. Reading, recognizing faces, seeing detail, driving, watching a screen. All of that runs through this one small spot. As we age, the macula comes under increasing oxidative stress. Think of it this way. Your eyes are essentially light processing machines running at high output for every waking hour, exposed to light and oxygen continuously. That's an enormous amount of wear, and over time, especially after 65, the protective layer underneath the macula starts to thin, deposits accumulate. The cells that do the repair work start to struggle. And here's what most people don't realize. The macula has its own nutritional defense system. 2 specific protective pigments, lutein and zeaxanthin, concentrate there in higher amounts than anywhere else in the body. They act as a kind of internal sunscreen for the retina, filtering harmful blue light and neutralizing the oxidative damage before it reaches the photoreceptor cells underneath. The problem is that your body cannot make lutein or zeaxanthin on its own, not a single molecule. Every bit of protection that layer provides has to come from what you eat, and most people over 65 are not eating nearly enough of it. Why before bed specifically? During deep sleep, your body goes into its primary cellular repair mode. This is when the layer of cells directly beneath the macula does its most active work, clearing debris, recycling photoreceptors, and restoring what the day's light exposure wore down. It's the nightly maintenance shift for your eyes, and like any repair process, it needs raw materials. Antioxidants circulating in the bloodstream overnight are available to support that repair. The timing matters because what's in your system when you go to sleep is what's available when that repair window opens. That's the reason eating before bed isn't just a quirk of this recommendation, it's the whole point. So why kiwi specifically? There are other foods with lutein and zeaxanthin. Spinach has more, kale has more. So what makes kiwi worth singling out? 2 things. The first is the combination, the second is the form. Let's start with lutein and zeaxanthin. We've already established why these matter. They're the only 2 plant-based protective pigments that accumulate directly in the macula. Your body can't produce them. The retina draws them in from the bloodstream and deposits them in exactly the spot that needs protecting most. Kiwi is one of the highest lutein fruits available. Not highest among all foods, but among fruits, it consistently ranks near the top alongside black currants, nectarines, and avocados. The reason this matters is absorption. Lutein from leafy greens like kale and spinach is bound to plant cell walls that require significant digestive effort to break down. Lutein from fruit is generally more easily absorbed, meaning more of what you eat actually makes it into your bloodstream. You can eat a larger serving of spinach and absorb less than a smaller serving of kiwi. That's the form advantage, and it's not trivial. The second nutrient, vitamin C. Kiwi is one of the most concentrated sources of vitamin C of any fruit. 2 small kiwis deliver more vitamin C than an orange. And for eye health specifically, vitamin C isn't just a general antioxidant, it's structurally important. The fluid inside your eye has one of the highest concentrations of vitamin C of any tissue in the human body. That concentration is there for a reason. Vitamin C helps maintain the integrity of the blood vessels feeding the retina, protects the lens from oxidative damage, and supports the structure of the cornea. Studies on dietary vitamin C and cataract risk have found that people with higher intake have meaningfully lower rates of nuclear cataracts, the most common age-related type. One study tracking over 1,000 women found that high vitamin C intake was associated with a 33% reduction in cataract risk over 10 years. So you have lutein and zeaxanthin protecting the macula, and vitamin C protecting the lens, the vessels, and the fluid environment around both. That brings us to the third nutrient, and this is the one most people don't associate with kiwi at all. Zeaxanthin. Kiwi contains both lutein and zeaxanthin, which is rarer in fruit than you'd think. Most high lutein foods skew heavily toward lutein with very little zeaxanthin. But in the retina, these two work as a team. Lutein concentrates in the outer ring of the macula, zeaxanthin concentrates in the very center, where your sharpest detail vision lives. You need both. And kiwi delivers both in a single food. This is what makes it unusual. It's not that kiwi has the highest levels of any one nutrient. It's that it delivers all three, lutein, zeaxanthin, and vitamin C, together in a highly absorbable package in a fruit most people will actually eat consistently. And consistency is everything here. These nutrients don't work like medication. They accumulate in the macula over time. A single serving doesn't do much, but a nightly habit, maintained over weeks and months, measurably increases the density of the protective pigment layer. And that density is directly correlated with how well your central vision holds up as you age. That's the whole mechanism. A set of clinical trials called the AREDS studies, run by the National Eye Institute, enrolled 4,757 people aged 55 to 80 and followed them for over 6 years. What they found was that people at high risk of developing advanced AMD reduced their risk of progression by about 25% when they consistently took a specific combination of antioxidants and zinc. 25%. For people already in the danger zone, that's a meaningful reduction in the likelihood of losing functional central vision. The same group also reduced their risk of significant central vision loss by 19%. Those were supplements at clinical doses. But the reason the finding matters here is what it tells you about the underlying mechanism. Antioxidant protection works. Giving the macula the nutrients it needs to resist oxidative damage genuinely slows this disease. The supplements were doing with concentrated doses what a consistently nutrient-rich diet does over time. That's the connection between AREDS and your kiwi. The more direct research comes from a 2012 randomized controlled trial that specifically tested lutein and zeaxanthin in 108 patients with early AMD. Over 48 weeks, the group receiving lutein daily showed significant increases in macular pigment density, the measurable thickness of the protective layer in the macula, along with statistically significant improvements in contrast sensitivity. Contrast sensitivity is worth pausing on because it's not the same as standard visual acuity. Acuity is how sharp the letters on an eye chart look under bright conditions. Contrast sensitivity is how well you distinguish detail in real-world variable lighting, faces in a dim restaurant, text on a grey background, the edge of a step in a shadowy hallway. It's often the first thing that quietly declines with AMD, and it's often the thing people describe as their vision just feeling off before they can put a name to what's wrong. So check this out. What that trial showed isn't just that lutein increased a measurable pigment score. It showed that the improvement translated directly into something people could actually feel in the quality of their daily vision. That is the path from a piece of fruit to a real-world outcome. 2 kiwis a day won't deliver the same dose as a clinical supplement. Dietary sources work more gradually, but consistently delivering absorbable lutein and zeaxanthin to the bloodstream every night over months and years is precisely how macular pigment is built and maintained. It's a slow accumulation, not a quick fix. And the research on that accumulation is clear. More protective pigment means more protection. This isn't a trade-off either. 2 kiwis before bed costs nothing in terms of side effects, doesn't interact with medications, doesn't require a prescription. The downside is essentially zero. The potential upside for your central vision at 75 or 80 is real. That asymmetry is the whole argument. Let's make this practical. 2 kiwis before bed. That's the baseline. Green kiwi works, gold kiwi works, and gold kiwi is actually higher in vitamin C, so if the slightly sweeter taste makes it easier to eat every night, that's a legitimate reason to choose it. Either way, the lutein and zeaxanthin are there. Eat them whole or sliced. If you want to add them to yogurt, that's fine. The fat in yogurt actually helps with absorption since these pigments are fat-soluble. What you don't want to do is juice them. Juicing removes the fiber, concentrates the natural sugars, and degrades some of the more delicate antioxidants. The whole fruit is the right form. Timing. Somewhere in the 30 to 60 minutes before sleep. You don't need to be precise. The point is that the nutrients are circulating when your body moves into its repair cycle, not several hours earlier when that window hasn't opened yet. A few things that help alongside it. Get outside in natural light during the day, but protect your eyes from direct glare. UV exposure is one of the main drivers of oxidative damage to the macula. If you smoke, the research on smoking and AMD is stark. It roughly doubles the risk of developing the disease and undermines whatever protective nutrition you're putting in. And if you haven't had a dilated eye exam in the last couple of years, schedule one. AMD has no pain, no early symptoms you'd notice on your own. The only way to catch it before it costs you significant vision is to have someone look. I keep coming back to the woman I mentioned at the beginning. The 71-year-old who lost the detail in her daughter's expression before she understood what was happening. What stays with me isn't the diagnosis. It's the years before it, the years when the right habits, maintained consistently, might have changed the trajectory. The years when a slow accumulation of protection was either happening or it wasn't. That's where you are right now, not in a crisis, in those years. 10 years from now, you want to be the person who can still read the menu at a dim restaurant without holding it up to the light. Who can look across a room and recognize a face? Who can watch a grandchild's expression change in real time? The little smile before they say something, the look they get when they're pretending not to be excited. Those things live in your central vision, in your macula, in the tiny, concentrated layer of pigment that kiwi helps build and protect every single night. That's what this habit is actually for. Not a number on a blood test, the ability to stay fully present in the visual moments that matter most, for as many years as possible. 2 kiwis before bed. Start tonight. If this was useful, share it with someone you care about who's over 65. Subscribe if you'd like to keep going. Take good care of yourself.